you'll see Rose in the first scene I'll show you. It's not lacy like this. It's a day dress, but it has a lot of those buttons. And I just think that's a really typical look for the period. It wasn't just the corset. These ladies were, by this period, they're starting to think about brassiere. Brassieres didn't become popular, though, or really accepted until after World War I. So after 1918, there really started to become more of a brassiere and a separate corset or girdle, we'll start to call them eventually. But back then, you really were still seeing not so much a brassiere as more of a chemise, which came right out of the Victorian period. Sometimes it was called a union suit, something you could step into, or a combination, they might call it. So it was sort of what we would think of as a slip, but with legs. And the ladies would step into that. And then they would wear a corset and sometimes a corset cover over that for protection. And then they would put on their dresses. And this is it looks like a combination, almost like a tea gown, which is what I have on. I have a reproduction of a tea gown on. Tea gowns are something actually Lucille was instrumental in making a lot of these. And they just had a little hint of the boudoir about them. And Mr. Brewster said in his book that, you know, the ladies would be able to wear these tea dresses. They called them teagies for short, tea gowns. And they'd wear them to have tea in the afternoon with no corset. And it was while their husbands were, that was the time with their mistresses. So the ladies would hang out at home with no corset, drink tea in their tea gowns, and then worry about everything else later. Go figure. Okay.
Women always had their girlfriends.
They always, thank goodness, still do.
Still do.
Oh, Mr. Poiret. Okay. Paul Poiret, this man had it very good for a while, but then he sort of went down the tubes when he didn't keep up with the times. Mr. Poiret, Paul Poiret, credited himself with freeing women from the corset. Okay? Took that corset out of there. Actually, well, he was a big part of it, but there were other people involved as well. Poiret was very inspired by the Ballet Russe, which was the Russian ballet. Diaghilev was, if you know anything about dance at all, he started this company, and Anna Pavlova danced for one season with him in 1909. That's when they debuted in Paris. The Ballet Russe was all about color, and there was a big Oriental influence there in the costuming. So Poiret was very, very inspired, and everything had been very pastel and muted colors prior to this period. And all of a sudden, he busts out with all of this color, bright color, a lot of Oriental influence in the fabric, in the design. Kimonos were worn. In fact, they're mentioned many times when I read about the dress of the Titanic passengers, that they might wear a kimono-style dressing gown or robe. Okay, so you see a lot of that Orientalism in the color and the design. A lot of turbans and feathers, again, not just in hats, but also in bands, so to speak. The other thing that was happening at the same time as the Orientalism was this neoclassical, the neoclassical period was the early 1800s. So think about Jane Austen's time period, where this empire waist was big.